The impact of the narcissistic parent really weighs heavily on the child's motivation. In essence, it kind of distorts self-determination theory or our inherent growth tendencies. Self-determination theory identifies 3 innate needs that, if satisfied, allow optimal functioning and growth. Competence, meaning to seek control of the outcomes of our own experience and a sense of mastery. Relatedness is just a universal yearning to interact and be connected to the experience of caring for others. And autonomy is the universal urge to be casual agents of one's own life and to act in harmony with one's integrated self. And the actions of the narcissist really damage this integration of self in a big way. When the narcissist hijacks the child's identity, essentially what is happening is they're destroying their innate intrinsic motivation. And it's intrinsic motivation that is so important for feeling purposeful and having a sense of meaning. Their sense of agency is stripped away from them and replaced with toxic shame. In fact, they're forced to deliberately detach from desire in any way, shape, or form and simply be compulsively compliant with the needs of the narcissist. Any inkling of individuality or sense of self-reliance, in fact, angers the narcissist because it's perceived as a threat to their own ego state. So an intrapersonal conflict develops where the child becomes codependent on subjugation of their abuser for their own self-preservation. Desire evokes fears of annihilation, and a dialectical dilemma exists between meeting their physiological needs and their psychological needs. The individual becomes split. Desire and safety become mutually exclusive concepts. And you can see as adults how difficult this would be in making choices. So with compliance comes a sense of safety in appeasing the narcissist. Exploring desires that are not congruent with that of the narcissist are not only invalidated, but pose a direct physical threat to their own survival. These threats may come in the form of abandonment, physical violence, verbal abuse, or simply neglect. The anger and sadness of never having their needs met may remain dormant for decades, but will play a very important part in the recovery process much later on in life. The constant unpredictability of the parent's mood leads to constant adjustments by the child to feel and pick up on the changing energy. And they have to change their ego state to match that of the narcissist. So they become hypervigilant and very aware at picking up cues and when they need to pull into line. The child is expected to be sensitive to the emotional needs of the narcissist at the expense of their own. The narcissistic parent's unresolved drives for attention and caretaking takes center stage as the child's early development needs are ignored and denied. The self-involved parent shames the child for having desires and makes them feel guilty for it. You can think of it as reverse parenting, if you like. So in constantly meeting the needs of the narcissist, the child soon stops wanting for anything for itself. The constant disappointment of being let down is almost too much to bear. The child develops a learned pessimism. Their personalities are based largely on what they need to do to survive, so their hopes for the future very rarely go further than achieving their basic needs. The full psychological self is not involved in life's big choices. Everything in life feels forced because they don't feel connected with intrinsic motivation. They feel a complete slave to circumstance. And when they become young adults and entering the world, the societal demands seem to inhibit self-exploration because of the needs of the adult, and they find themselves compulsively compliant, yet again reinforcing the original trauma. So the original trauma stems from being subjugated by their narcissistic parent, but then this soon gets upgraded to a feeling of exploitation in society. This is further compounded by having a complete lack of assertiveness. We all have to do things we don't want to do as adults, but deep inside the complex PTSD survivor is a deep sense of injustice. So any situation reminiscent of oppression or forced choice bring forth a reaction as if their life is literally being threatened. Their intrinsic self is buried deep down and they can't explore it for the fears of annihilation that were put in place at the time of their infancy.